A man once made $12 million in a single morning, selling stocks he knew were worthless. His clients? Regular people, teachers, nurses, even a few retirees. Not one of them saw it coming. But here's the twist. The scam wasn't about the stocks. It was about a psychology hack so powerful, you're still surrounded by it today. And the wild part? Even if you think you're immune, you've likely fallen for it too. So, how did the Wolf of Wall Street actually trick people? And why does the same trick still work on much smarter, much richer people every single day? Let's step inside Stratton Oakmont's office. Phones ringing, adrenaline in the air, and a room full of men who could outsell anyone. This wasn't just a boiler room, it was a belief factory. Every call was a tiny theater production, starring the broker and your FOMO. Here's the real script. The wolf never sold the stock, he sold the story. It always starts the same way. A tiny, believable opportunity. A penny stock, an up-and-coming company, a can't-miss tip. But here's what most people never realized. You were never buying a stock. You were buying hope. And hope is the most expensive thing on Wall Street. Let's talk numbers. Stratton Oakmont moved over $1 billion worth of junk stocks in the early 90s. Clients lost nearly everything. The brokers, they got rich fast. But the really bizarre part? The scam only worked because it felt like it couldn't be a scam. The pitch was always slick, professional, and just boring enough to seem legitimate. No wild claims, just inside information and a little pressure. So why did smart people buy in? Here's what they didn't see. The wolf's real product was urgency. The phone would ring and the pressure was immediate. You're lucky to get this call. Most people never realize when they're being rushed. Their brain swaps research for adrenaline. And when you're hyped up, you stop asking hard questions. That's the first ingredient, urgency. But there's a second, more dangerous ingredient, social proof. Everyone's getting in. You don't want to be the only one left out, right? Suddenly, it's not about the stock's value. It's about not looking dumb. This is where the scam really takes off, because FOMO is stronger than logic. Now, here's the kicker. The wolf's pitch didn't actually need to be true. It just needed to be urgent and popular. The facts barely mattered. Your emotions were already running the show. By the time you hung up, you'd already convinced yourself. That's how a scam becomes invisible, even to people who should know better. But this isn't just Wall Street history. It's everywhere today. Crypto coin hype? Meme stocks? NFT launches? The formula never changed. A story, urgency, and the feeling that everyone else already knows something you don't. Let's break down why your brain is wired to fall for this. First, we hate uncertainty. When someone offers certainty in a confusing market, it feels like relief. Second, we trust confidence even when it's faked. The wolf's real genius? He didn't pick suckers. He picked people who were desperate to believe. Once you want to believe, you stop noticing the red flags. That's why intelligence isn't protection. If anything, smart people rationalize their decisions harder. Here's a stat nobody likes to admit. Over half of Stratton Oakmont's victims had college degrees. So how do you actually spot a scam that doesn't look like one? First clue, urgency. If you're being rushed, pause. No real investment vanishes if you take a night to think. Second clue, social proof that's just a little too perfect. If everyone else seems to be winning, ask for actual documentation, not just stories. Third clue, the promise of insider information. If you're not on the board of directors, you're never truly on the inside. Here's the weirdest part. After all the arrests, the wolf's playbook didn't die. It just moved online, into your inbox, your DMs, your trading apps. The language is slicker now. The promises are wrapped in memes and TikTok trends. But the fundamental psychology? Identical. Let's pull back the curtain. What actually makes a scam work isn't greed. It's the illusion of control. You think you're making a smart decision, when in reality, you're reacting to a script. That's why the wolf always seems so convincing. He made you feel like you were the insider. But when it collapsed, The insiders were always the first to lose. So here's the catch. The most convincing scams don't look like scams at all. They look like opportunities. They sound like friends, and they never ever make you feel like a victim until it's too late. Why does this matter for you? Because the next wolf won't use a rotary phone. He'll use your social feed. Maybe your group chat. He'll sound like someone you know. Maybe even someone you trust. The only real defense is to spot the script before it hooks you. So next time you feel that itch, that rush, that urge to jump in, ask yourself, who benefits if I act now? If the answer isn't you, take a breath. Step back. The Wolf of Wall Street didn't invent the scam. He just perfected the pitch. And the pitch is still out there, just with a new face, a new story, and maybe a TikTok dance. But here's the truth. The real scam isn't losing money. It's handing over your trust for free. If you protect that, the pitch can't hurt you, no matter how slick the story. Want to see how Wall Street's oldest tricks keep getting recycled? Check out our deep dive on the psychology of financial bubbles, because the wolf is just the start. And remember, the next great scam won't look like one until you're on the inside looking out. Stay sharp, stay skeptical, and never buy hope at full price. But here's a twist you probably didn't expect. Some of the world's best investors have fallen for these tricks too. In 2008, even entire banks bought into stories that seemed too good to miss and lost billions. That's the hidden danger. The bigger you are, the more you believe you're immune. The wolf's technique didn't just trick individuals, it infected whole systems. Entire pension funds, meant to protect teachers and firefighters, got swept up in the same psychology. The cost? In 2009 alone, retirement investors lost over $2 trillion worldwide. If you're thinking, that could never be me, that's exactly who these scams target next. Let's rewind to the 1920s for a second. The original Ponzi scheme promised 50% returns in 45 days. No questions asked. People lined up by the hundreds. It ended the same way, with disbelief and empty pockets. Almost a century later, Bernie Madoff pulled the same trick, with $65 billion, not pennies. Why did people trust Madoff? He never promised wild riches. He promised steady, safe returns, just like the wolf's safe stocks. In every era, the script is recycled. It's never about greed. It's always about certainty and belonging. Here's the irony. Every time the cycle repeats, the next generation thinks they're too smart to fall for it. But every scam adapts to the times. Today, it's not stocks. It's coins, collectibles, even fake crowdfunding causes. The same buttons get pushed. Urgency, social proof, the comfort of the crowd. So what can you do? Build friction into your decisions. Make it harder for yourself to say yes on impulse. One billionaire uses a 24-hour rule. No matter how good the pitch, he waits a day before acting. When you slow down, you see the cracks in the story. Another trick. Ask what the seller gains if you buy. If the answer is everything, be skeptical. Because in these games, the house always wins, unless you refuse to play. And if you think regulators will always protect you, the wolf's firm operated for years before getting caught. Even today, financial fraud is a $50 billion per year industry in the US alone. For every scam you hear about, 10 more are quietly draining wallets. And here's the counterintuitive bit. The more complicated the pitch, the easier it is to hide the trick. Complexity looks smart. It's actually camouflage. So if you don't understand it in plain language, don't invest. The wolf's greatest weapon was always the same, making you feel a little bit special. But remember, exclusivity is the oldest trick in the book. If you're getting a deal that feels just for you, ask who else got the same offer. And if the answer is everyone, it's not special, it's a script. Here's another curiosity. The next scam might not even be about money. In the age of viral misinformation, the new currency is attention, and you're the product. Fake charities, viral hoaxes, and even political movements use the exact same tricks: urgency, social proof, and hope. So the defense is universal. Slow down, check the facts, guard your trust. Because you can't outsmart psychology, but you can outweight it. The next wolf is already planning his pitch. Will you recognize the script when it comes? If you're curious how these scams evolve, stick around for our next video, where we break down influencer marketing gone rogue. Meanwhile, remember, hope is priceless until someone tries to sell it to you. If you've ever hesitated with a too-good-to-be-true offer, that's your defense mechanism working. Congratulate your skepticism. It's the only thing Wall Street can't buy. One last thing. Every scam promises simplicity and speed. Real wealth is never either. If someone's offering shortcuts, ask what you're really cutting. Time or truth? Because the wolf's script is always waiting for the next person to skip the hard questions. So next time, flip the script. Ask more questions than the broker can answer. If they get annoyed, that's your red flag. Because the only people who hate hard questions are the ones who can't answer them. You can't out-hustle the hustle, but you can outlast it. And that, more than any secret stock tip, is how you beat the wolf. So stay sharp, stay skeptical, and keep your trust under lock and key. The next pitch is coming. Make sure you're ready.